Hello, welcome. Hi everyone. This is our first Office Hours Hangout. So we'd like to talk a bit today around Firebase. It's a bit of an open forum, really, sort of question and answers. So I guess we should introduce the team here. So I'm Dan. I'm one of the product owners here. We've got Sergey, who's an iOS developer, and Ben, Francesco, and Joseph, who are Android developers. So I guess as an introduction, so why Firebase and why and what have we been doing with it? So we've been building smart TV apps sort of based on Firebase, and the reason for this, we felt that Firebase was a really good way for us to bring value to customers and users much faster. It's a platform that allows us capabilities to implement product features much quicker. So I'm going to hand over to Ben, and he's going to talk a bit more on that.
So, I mean, to give maybe a bit more detail around how it's allowing us to maybe bring those features a bit faster. So one of the classic issues that we face by trying to bring new functionalities to some different projects we're working on is that often we have to integrate with an API team, from our client's perspective, that is dealing with the entire product offering of that client. And so they have a lot of things on their backlog, they're really busy. And so when we come in and say, hey, it would be really nice to be able to add social sign-in, or it'd be really nice to be able to add some form of storing information about how much the user has consumed on one platform to see it on the other, usually the answer comes to, yeah, awesome, we can do it in 6 to 9 months. So to try and speed up this process and allow us to be more reactive, we can actually use Firebase to build this backend for frontend layer, which allow us to build those functionality ourselves and integrate seamlessly with the client's API behind the scenes. But this is kind of maybe our approach of why we use it overall within Novoda, what we want to go in that direction. So maybe you can give a bit more insight on why we want to use it for this specific project.
Yeah, so for this project around smart TV apps, so we were after an immersive, over-the-top sort of 10-foot experience. So Firebase allows us to engage with users sort of wherever they are. So whether they're, because of the cross-device functionality, we can target them on their, when they're at home, on their TV, when they're on the move. So it just gave us a bit more flexibility.
Yeah, so one way of being able to build that kind of on-the-go and everywhere experience is to be able to have the ability to make decisions of saying, for example, will the user finish watching something on its TV, we can push something to his phone, or the user just came home, we can push something to their watch. To be able to do that across a multitude of platforms seamlessly, the best way to do it is to be able to have all that information centralized in one place. And so Firebase allows us to put all of that information on the Firebase store and have some logic server side that can then make decisions with regards to when certain events happen from the TV, then push something to the phone, or that decision-making process is available. So that's kind of the reasoning of why we wanted to go in that direction. Today we have different bits and pieces of information that we can share with you. So we want this to be sort of like an exchange as well. So don't hesitate to put questions through the Slido link that appears at the bottom. And then we'll try and pick off and maybe discuss on certain points. We have kind of 3 topics we can cover, we can talk about. So one of them is around how to kind of structure your data and the things to know, given that Firebase is a NoSQL database. The second part is around things like the specificity of TV as a platform. So not all TV platforms are equal in the way we can integrate Firebase into it. And the last thing we can talk about is analytics and kind of the bits and pieces it adds with regards to other analytics platform. So to kick off and talk about sort of data structures and how does that fit within Firebase, I'm going to hand it over to Francesco.
Thanks, Ben. You were talking a couple of minutes ago about being real-time being reactive. And one of the features that Firebase gives us is actually the real-time database. So in order to use the real-time database, we have to think about data in a bit of a different way. Instead of relying on like the relational model that we're used to, mostly with databases, we need to transition towards the NoSQL one. What this means is that we have to embrace duplication of data. This means that we will have the same data probably duplicated across the database store. And what this means is that we have to take care of those data. We have to take care of duplication, we have to take care of maintaining duplicated data and updating everything. What this means is that thinking about data is a bit different. And this though allows us to have like some more advanced patterns. For example, we can move across nodes in the Firebase tree, and this means that essentially what we have to do is copy data over. For example, say that we have a list of movies that we want to expose on the clients. What this means is that copying a movie over to a client allows us to then retrieve that movie in a faster way. We don't have to jump over nodes. And this basically helps us leverage the part of the thing. So how do we actually do that? We have two ways of moving across nodes. We can either do manual indexing, which is what we do with our apps on TV. So say that we have like a common use case of queries. Say that we want to retrieve the list of movies that are available in the UK. And we want to retrieve like the list of clients that are able to see these kind of movies. So a way to do it would be to keep a node in a Firebase tree that stores all the keys to these movies. So this common query is already prepared and the results are already there. We just go there and we fetch the results. Another way of doing it is to leverage the automatic indexing that Firebase has. And in order to do that, you need to create custom rules on Firebase. And these custom rules will basically allow you to set index on values of nodes or on attributes. Another gotcha that we kind of want to expose to you so that you're aware of it is that Firebase really does not go along with arrays. So if you can avoid arrays, please. You're gonna thank us eventually. So how do we leverage this data structure for our client server flow? The way that we are suggesting you to use Firebase is through a cloud PubSub mechanism. So imagine having a real-time server that you can create with trusted servers. These are a relatively new Firebase feature. This trusted server will basically listen on nodes, and as soon as a client writes to a node, the server will react and will not respond to the client directly, but will publish a new change to another node to which the client is subscribed. So we have this unidirectional flow of information that allows us to achieve basically real-time data migration, data movement across the Firebase store.
Yeah. So we've got a question from Anonymous regarding data protection.
Yeah.
Are there any issues with being able to guarantee the storage location of user data? And how are these concerns resolved?
I don't think so. I don't think that Firebase, as in like location in the world, like areas, geographical areas.
That's a good question. Did anyone?
So if the person who asked that question is online, can they talk?
No.
So is it about in location in the world, or was it around the ability to have an area that is secure?
Hi guys, sorry that was me.
Okay. Hey.
So one of the problems we have with being able to introduce this is that the Data Protection Act says it needs to know where the data is concerned. Data protection officers need to know that the customer's user data is being stored in various locations, which is why we can't use, for example, Slack to discuss customer data. So Firebase doesn't give the guarantee of where your user data is. Is there any concern about this? Do you have any problems when discussing this with your clients?
So for us, we've never really encountered at the moment a situation where we'd have that like legal requirement or that concern, but definitely something that is not available yet with Firebase, but that could probably be addressed.
Yeah, because if you go to the Google Cloud Console, when you create a project, you can definitely set the geographical area. So since Firebase is basically a Google Cloud product, probably they will do it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that is worth like mentioning to the Firebase dev team, because they're like maintaining a backlog of things they want to work on, and definitely if those are like regular concerns, I'm pretty sure they would start like allowing that to be a selection.
Yeah, I've mentioned it already, I think, and so far I've heard that in the latter half of Q2 next year it's going to be addressed, and it's already available with the actual Google Cloud platform, but unfortunately not quite yet.
Cool, good to know, thanks. Cool. Yeah, so I mean, feel free to like keep popping questions, but in the meantime, like what we can do is like move on to like the second aspect of things, which was given this project is around TV, we did face a few issues with certain TV platforms. So Joseph and Sergey can talk about that maybe.
Yeah. So if you want to use Firebase on all the platforms that are available, so iOS, Android, tvOS, and all maybe potential other platforms, you have very limited options with regards to SDKs, because SDKs are only available on Apple, on iOS, and on Android with Google Play services. So as we want to be able to use Firebase also on Fire TV and Apple TV, we kind of run into a problem, like how do we leverage this cool Firebase Realtime Database on a platform that doesn't have the SDK? So there is a thing that you can use. It's the Firebase REST API, which we are also using, and we are building our own clients for those platforms that don't have the official support. And with this REST API, you can achieve all the cool Firebase real-time features that you get from the SDK. What you need to do to kind of see the REST API is you basically just take the link to your node in Firebase and append .json at the end, and then you will see the response of that call in your browser, and you get support for all the REST methods like get, put, delete, post, patch, whatever. But there are two different get methods. So one is the simple get, where you only get one response back from Firebase, and then that's it. Or when you want to use the real-time features, then there's the streaming get, which uses the event streaming, the server sentiments API, which is the new HTML or HTTP standard. And basically, this works as kind of like a WebSocket, where you open the connection and then you get the updates there when the changes happen on Firebase database. So all you need to do is keep the connection alive, and then when you get the messages, which are either put or patch, you merge those messages on your client, and then you create your objects that you then convert to your models. So if we have a look at what put and patch will look like, for example, here we have patch, where we have our object which has a color, and then we get patch update, which adds some more parameters to that object. Then on our client, we merge those two objects into our final objects, and then we convert that object to our model, and we have the updated data. So on Android, we achieved this using OKHTTP, where we turn off the timeouts, so the connection doesn't time out, and then we basically parse and merge the stream of all the messages that we receive. And on Apple TV, Sergey, you can tell you.
Yeah, on Apple TV, in order to implement REST client, we are using NSURL session API from Foundation Framework. And for a simple REST request, like a put or a post, you just can use regular API with the callbacks. And for a streaming request, the things are a bit tricky because you need to make sure that your request timeout is an interval is bigger than 30 seconds, because this is the interval for Firebase, which sends the keep alive events to keep connection alive. And another gotcha is that we found that in order to make it work with a streaming request, you also need to implement your custom NoSQL session delegate. And this is the one of the funniest parts, because Apple doesn't mention this in their documentation. And the next part is pretty straightforward. You just receive the event, you parse the data, you merge them into your domain objects. And that's pretty much it, actually.
Cool. So yeah, so this is kind of like the few tips and tricks with regards to the TV platform, as it's a bit of a different one. And not just a TV platform, actually, but also any device that doesn't have these services when it comes to Android. So it's also a thing to know that there is a few workarounds that we can use.
So we have another question this time from YouTube. So Vasilis, apologies if I'm not pronouncing the name correctly. What do you think about app indexing with Firebase? Will it engage more users?
So, I mean, app indexing is something that has been existing before. So the Firebase is more integrating now. It's pretty powerful. The advantage with the integration within Firebase is now that information around some of the analytics around app indexing is more prominent. So especially if you want to start using ad campaigns and try and track things as those index links are used, it's really powerful. And the second part is the ability to, in addition to just use the regular app indexing and be able to allow you to have deep search and things like that, you have also dynamic links that exist now through Firebase, which allow to promote links to go deep into your app. That can be open even if the app is not installed on the device. So if you share a link like this, someone would click on it. If they're on their Android phone and they don't have the app, it would go to the Play Store, allow them to install the app. The OK button would actually say continue instead. And as they tap continue, it would open directly into the deep link where it was supposed to go. And the same thing with iOS, actually. It works in a similar fashion. So this is really powerful if you want to start engaging users and try and converting users that are using your app to kind of invite potentially their friends or other people that can share links and get people engaged into it. So a lot of the functionality around app indexing was already present, but just the integration with all those other offerings now is a bit more smooth. So it's interesting to have a look at that.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
any other questions from anyone at the moment on the Hangout?
Fair enough. No worries. Just keep popping questions on Slido if you have anything that comes up. We can cover a few more things. So I was mentioning earlier around analytics. So I can show you a few of the things that we can do with analytics. So why is Firebase Analytics quite interesting? Well, it's interesting for several reasons. One is it's actually at the core of the new Firebase offering. It's integrated with pretty much everything, which means that any feature of Firebase you're using is tracking some information to the analytics to some degree. There's a lot of default fields that are populated for you throughout the information that Android has, for example, or iOS has with regards to their users. So it's really interesting. But the second part is it really integrates with a lot of different tools that Google is providing. So one of them is Data Studio that you can see here. So Data Studio allows you to create interactive live dashboards based on your analytics data. And this is really powerful. Pretty quickly, we can create, just dropping in there, linking to the analytics, and we can see, for example, here, a map of how many users we have per country. So this is data set from a small sample app that we had done in the past. And we can see that we have almost 300 users in India, which for a developer sample app is actually quite nice. About 80 users in the UK, 65 in the US, and so it's a really nice, like, easy to read, easy to kind of look at data. And then we can kind of drill down, so we can start looking, okay, well, we have loads of users in India, why is that so? And so we can try and have a look at maybe mapping things over time. So this allows us to see for each country, depending on the day, how many people, how many users we actually got. And so we can see, for example, like maybe here, the UK had like only 2 spikes. So we kind of had like people through maybe like 2 public statements that happened. And then India, like the blue line here, has like a lot more regular income of people trying out the app. And so maybe we can try and like drill down and figure out, okay, what happened? Maybe this app was mentioned on some form of developer forum that like a lot of people consult, and so from there on, we have a regular stream of users. So this is kind of a really nice interactive way to try and like explore your analytics data. But the big power of the analytics is actually you can synchronize all your elements of your analytics into BigQuery, and then you have pretty much full control over your analytics data. You can do more complex queries. You can try map different elements of your analytics, do some like SQL querying operations on them to try and extract meaning out of your analytics. So for example, here, we knew that we had loads of users in India and like different kind of really scattered in terms of numbers, but what if we want to know what are the users who interact more with the app? So we can see here how many events are sent per user in the app. And so we can see that in India, the average like action per user is just about 3, 2 to 3. So we have a lot of people that pretty much install the app, try it out, and then go. That would allow us to know, well, we have a lot of potential here for because there's loads of users, but they don't interact that much with the app. So maybe we can try and engage with them a bit more to try and like boost up our app usage. Or maybe we want to actually focus on some of the countries where we have an extremely high amount of interaction from lower amount of people, and say, well, maybe it's because people in those countries can be really interested in the app. Maybe we just failed marketing. We failed the push, and we could just, if we could try and convert more users in there, it would like lead us like better revenue or whatever, depending on our products. So it's really interesting how much data and meaning we can extract using BigQuery to analysis. But there's even more, because BigQuery actually allows us to interact with public data sets. So you don't even have to only use your analytics. You can now start to visualize things that are your analytics and with relationship to any public data set that is available. And this is really powerful, because then you can start from a business perspective to try and extract a lot more meaning, to try and like plan ahead and do things. So maybe you can give a bit more insight on that.
Yeah, so from if we think about our smart TV apps, it could be that we want to integrate some additional services. We want to provide sort of a richer experience to users. So it would allow us to make more informed decisions about the I don't know, it could be a service that we want to integrate. So it could be IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes in case of films or TV programs or something. So we could look at what our users are searching for in one instance, and then compare that to perhaps what's trending across different services. And then if we find a match, then we can prioritize which service to potentially integrate with. So it could be that we decide to go with IMDb because that more closely matches what our users are searching for, which is really powerful.
Yeah, so it's really nice, especially since on the Play Store on Android, the entirety of the reviews on your app can be exported as a data store for BigQuery. So you can definitely integrate all of that. So you can then try and like draw parallels with regards to, well, maybe all the users we have in this country, we have a lot of users, but also have a lot of negative reviews. So maybe you can improve that. Or kind of try and like get insight from not only just your analytics, but maybe the reviews. You have a lot of interesting data sets that exist, like maybe all the Reddit comments since 2007. So if people have been talking about your product in Reddit, you can try and like map that back in and try and extract some value out of your analytics plus that to try and figure out maybe what's happening and what you could improve in your app. So there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of things that can be done. So it's really interesting to have a look. One of the things to note, though, is just that even though the analytics are fully free for Firebase Analytics, the BigQuery aspect of it isn't. So just be mindful when you decide to export your analytics to BigQuery that you might have to like pay the storage and queries and stuff. The pricing point is pretty low, so it shouldn't be a huge problem, but just like be mindful of that and just maybe double check like how much that would cost you overall.
So on the analytics, we have a question from Andre. So how does the newly released Firebase crash reporting compare with the popular Crashlytics? Would you recommend using?
So there's kind of a few differences in how it works. At the moment, the crash reporting of Firebase has a slightly different way of reporting it in the way that it's using a separate process. So one of the things to be mindful is there will be a separate process spawned for the crash reportings while you use it. That's for Android, yes. When it comes to what it actually brings in terms of features for crash reporting, one of the best features that it's adding is, once again, the fact that it's integrated with analytics. So what does that mean? Well, that means that now, if you actually have a crash that pops in the crash reporting, in addition to just being able to see the crash and the stack trace, we also have a timeline that shows over the time the different events, analytics events that the user went through to reach this crash. This is extremely powerful because it really helps try and put some context with regards to a crash that is happening and kind of understand the journey that the user might have taken to get there. So this is definitely a big plus, and it's really like a great thing to have to be able to debug faster.
But I think also with regards to Crashlytics, if you want to use Firebase, at least on Android, you need to have live services available. So you can't use crash reporting on devices that don't have live services, which is gotcha.
Definitely.
Okay, we've got another question from Anonymous. I'm not sure if it's the same Anonymous, but is Firebase remote config usable on Amazon devices?
Remote config for you?
Yeah.
So right now, I think it doesn't work. It needs play services again. It's one of those features that are awesome when they work, and when they don't, you just have no way around it, which is a shame.
But we wrote a blog post about that, which you should check out. It's on novoda.com/blog. We wrote about all the Firebase features that are available with and without play services. So if you check it out, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think the one good and really cool thing about Firebase and Fire TV devices is that you get analytics without play services, which is awesome. So you get at least some of the goodies of Firebase without play services.
I think one of the big things to maybe mention as well is like the Firebase dev team is pretty like open to suggestion. It's like usually like listens a lot to the community, especially in those kind of early days of Google trying to push it a lot more. So the more people like complain about something, so for example, like the fact that play services is pretty much required, like this is not something you can change that easily because it requires a lot of work. But if a lot of people are saying, well, actually, like I can't use Firebase if it's only supported in play services, then like if there's enough people that kind of have that voice, then potentially they'll make that big effort of doing that huge change. To a certain degree, they've already done it partially for iOS. So I had a chat with them and kind of explaining, okay, for them, it's kind of like how many people we can cover. And so because a lot of people were saying, well, you know, we're doing mobile, we need iOS. There's a lot of iOS devices, a lot of people that will build app for iOS. So they spent the effort of basically porting the feature set of play services in like the library for iOS. So yes, you pull in a bit more when you use it on iOS, but you can use it and everything works. So if they realize that there is enough demand on some of those other platforms, they'll probably do the effort and kind of maintain that second part for it to be able to work. But it's kind of just a cost versus demand type of thing. So let's just show that there's some demand and probably we'll get it.
Okay, we've got another question from Lewis. I'm not sure if you're on the Hangout. No? Okay, so the question is, do you have any advice about using IDs to connect data? At the moment, I'm duplicating my IDs everywhere in case I find I need them.
Well, you need to duplicate data. So if you really don't want to do it, you can leverage, again, the automatic indexing that Firebase has. But it depends on your use case. If your queries are very complex, you definitely want to duplicate your IDs and like point to the actual node in some sort of a manual way. Yes, you need to update those IDs. Yes, you need to take care of deleting everywhere or updating everywhere if you also add data. But that's one of the few drawbacks about NoSQL databases. That's something you need to take advantage of as well.
Yeah, but since the Firebase Summit in Berlin, you can use push some of the logic server side. So it can be simple, and you will have that logic.
Yeah, so you can have your trusted server that runs in the background, kind of do some of that updating and that maintenance on those nodes.
So just to add a bit more detail to try and address the question from earlier on the app indexing. So it'd be worth actually checking out some of the case studies that are out there also. So for instance, the Guardian case, they saw something like a 5% increase in click-through rates from search, and Etsy saw something like 11.6%, around 11-12% increase. So yeah, definitely worth checking out the case studies.
Yeah. Also because as users get like accustomed to app indexing, they expect that when they follow a link and they start an app, they have to go straight to the source of information that they want to retrieve. If they do not have the information immediately, right away, they're going to uninstall the app, they're not going to install it again, because it's a waste of time.
Yeah. Okay, do we have any more questions from anyone?
If there's anything you want to know, maybe a topic or like a feature of Firebase that you've been curious about, like don't hesitate. It's like the time for us to be able to.
If anyone wants to chat about sort of their own experiences using Firebase. Nothing? No?
Yeah, well, yes, thanks all for joining us. We're going to try and make this sort of a regular thing. So we're going to share at the end of this a sort of like feedback form. So if you could just spend some time just like telling us on that form what did you enjoy, what you kind of were expecting to see, if there's anything we didn't cover, or like any topic you might be interested in. We want to try and make this a time where we can interact with you and we can like share like things you might be interested in. We might even be able to like look into things that like interest people depending on like what we're covering. If you want to rewatch this, if you have like bits and pieces that like you might want to point to, it's all going to be on YouTube. You have a few links that we'll put in there as well with regards to like maybe a few references, and you'll find also on there all of our details if you want to get in touch with us to ask us like personal questions. So yeah, thanks you all for.
We do have a follow-up question on app indexing again, just coming from YouTube. Sure. So does app indexing support path patterns?
I'm not sure what he means by path patterns.
As in, I don't know. I don't think path patterns as in like, maybe it could be like, if you have this kind of pattern, then do something. But it's like, it's it's a rigid thing. I don't think it does. support
Maybe we need to
maybe look into that
Yeah, maybe we could ask Vasilis to
for a
Yeah.
follow-up.
more details.
Yeah, definitely get in touch with us. Like send us an email or through Twitter. We'll happily exchange, and if we figure out or if we know about it, we can.
He's just put more details in.
Cool.
Has that come up on your screen?
Yeah, like food.com/anything/search.
So I don't know about the app indexing. Definitely, we should be thinking can work with that.
Yeah, I guess.
Because on Android you can create intent filter that hovers with a wildcard, and then be able to consume that URI when you're in the app to be able to identify what was that second node, for example, or third node of your path. So the dynamic link will definitely work with it. I'm not sure about the app indexing, but it should, on Android, it should definitely rely on intent matching, so it should work. I'm not sure on the iOS side though if that would be feasible. So that's definitely an unknown for the iOS side. That's something we can potentially have a look at. And so if you want more information, get in touch with us directly. We'll happily exchange and chat over it. If you need to know more.
Cool. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. I guess we'll wrap it up slightly earlier than we planned, but yeah, I think unless there's any other questions from anyone. No. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Cool.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks.